Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomena, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X-Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X-Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
Hello and welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout, the radio show dedicated to the quest to find out what really exists on the other side. I'm your host, Larry Lawson, coming to you from the X-Zone Broadcast Nation, headquartered in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and I'm speaking to you from the Southern Command Post of the X-Zone Broadcast Network in beautiful Vero Beach and Fellsmere, Florida. And really pleased tonight to introduce our guest who's going to join us on our journey, Michelle Desrochers from Canada's Most Haunted. Michelle has been actively researching the unexplained and working for the past 15 years in an area primarily focused on malevolent and demonic attachments. Michelle has been around spirits from a very early age, and a malevolent experience during that time prompted her to begin her studies into the paranormal. This led to the study of demonology and various religions, with a more in-depth look at spirit research and communication. She has considered herself privileged to have been invited to some of the most wonderful locations to investigate, and she's humbled by the positive comments by fans, but also the faith that her clients have put in her by entrusting themselves and their families to her. She can often be found at her office, which is literally an old Gothic revival manor house in Niagara Falls, interacting with the spirit residents of that home. Michelle, welcome to Paranormal Stakeout.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, and I've been kind of excited about having you on the show. We've had a lot of guests. We get a lot of guests that talk about their experiences in the paranormal, their investigative or research work. But your work seems to be a little bit different, and I really want to spend some time chatting about that. But first, the audience would like to hear how did you end up in the world of the paranormal?
Not by choice. I can tell you. No, realistically, I guess I had an attachment myself from a very young age. I mean, I've been seeing spirits my entire life. I do come from a line of mediums, a long line of mediums. So I really didn't fear spirits, and I was fortunate that I did not have a family that would discourage me from the things that I saw. You know, like you have an imaginary friend. I didn't have somebody saying, "Don't be silly, you're ridiculous." It was encouraged because of the fact that I really did have I really did see things. So, you know, I was okay with it. And somewhere along the line, around the age of, puberty, which seems to be the target age that attracts more malevolent beings. And I'll admit it, I was that kind of a teenager. I was curious as well about those sort of things. So something malevolent came in probably around the age of, 11 or 12.
Mm-hmm.
And I really started to notice it because I'd have friends, girlfriends come and have, slumber parties and so on. And one night we were in my room because, I'm the teenager. I'm coming on the teenage years. I want my room in the basement and play my music loud, etc. And man, they were over. And then we ended up with this huge cold spot that came in. I mean, we could see our breath. And then there was just like this breeze. I mean, strong enough of a breeze that her hair was moving. And all of a sudden, I'm going to show my true age here, but we had albums. I mean, I know you have them now, but back then it's all we had. So anyway, I always had my albums, with the covers with the slits facing out. So it was just easy to go in and grab one. And they just started flinging out of their sleeves and just kind of going all over the place. So back then we didn't have the internet, and I didn't know a whole lot about poltergeist activity, things of that nature. So, I had the foul smells, sewer, rotten eggs, that kind of thing. I'm like, oh man, okay. I started getting into researching, a little bit about it about Ed and Lorraine Warren. Read the book, The Demonologist, later on, a little bit later on in years, and realized that, wow, you know what? Because I'd had this thing with me a long time before I could get access to books like that. And I basically just started changing my mindset, and it's not like I could even, didn't know enough to burn sage and things like that. And it wasn't readily accessible. So I just started changing my mindset the most and burning a lot of white candles and, using whatever oil I can get. And I had an aunt at the time who was friends with, because she was a very faithful churchgoer. So she had, become friends with some of the church, the churchgoers, and actually connected me up with a very open-minded Catholic priest who, really was very versed on malevolent entities and spoke to me about possible poltergeist activity, but we still couldn't work out the fact that there were the foul smells and growling and things like that. So, said, well, this is probably what's going on with you. But over time, it got a lot easier for me because I just got into a different mindset altogether.
So most of your early years, your learning, if you will, wasn't with the help of others. It was you basically are self-taught. Would that be accurate description?
Man, I was solo. Yes, definitely. It's not even something that you could go around and talk to people about. Even having mediumship abilities, it was called, like my mother would say, well, okay, that's the family secret. You just can't go talk about that. Oh, great. So, and my mom didn't really want to talk about it either. I mean, she didn't discourage me from it, but she really didn't want to have conversations about it either, but things were going on in the house. So she was realizing that there was a problem. But yes, I was definitely self-taught.
So, and like many of us in the field have found poltergeist activity and young teenagers, prepubescent teenagers, or just recently pubescent teenagers tend to attract this type of attention. Would you agree with that?
I would definitely agree with that, especially girls. We're very emotional creatures. Not that boys don't go through a whole mix of emotions themselves when they're going through this change of life, but women, I mean, we're just super emotional, and we can go through it when we go through menopause as well. But I went through it with my daughter also when she was going through puberty. I mean, the whole place was through the roof. And I knew what I was doing back then, like when she was going through it. So,
well, do you think this type of activity that you've described yourself, as well as your daughter going through, does it have anything to do with our own emotions? Yes, but is that the primary cause, or is the other side attracted to that? What's your theory on that?
I do believe that the other side is possibly attracted to that sort of energy, because I know myself, and based on a lot of the cases that I've done, and my daughter as well, when these things start making their presence known, it's a very powerful energy, and they do have a way of affecting your mindset. And I took a huge interest in learning about dark things like the occult and witchcraft. And I remember my daughter coming to me when she was probably about 15. So she said, she goes, I'm really interested, in learning about this. And I'm like, wow, okay, how do I delicately handle this? But then I started realizing that parents were messaging me saying, I'd like you to teach my child about the occult because I think you'll do it safely. I says, oh, I can't do that. Like, I didn't want to promote that sort of behavior at all, but it's a fine line. What do you do? Do you help somebody, or do you feel like it's an encouragement,
Well, I think education is always helpful, but you yourself, I notice in your bio on your webpage even, you speak about your studies. Did you practice witchcraft at all in your earlier days?
No, I did not.
Okay. Did you work with any Wiccans or anything like that helped enlighten you?
Oh gosh, no, Larry. I grew up in up north, and there were no such animals up there to even reach out to. I literally spent my time in a library or talking to, like, the closest I could get was a Catholic priest who happened to be really open-minded. And before my grandfather passed, he would verse me, being super psychic. I mean, he would verse me on things, like on the outer realms a little bit, and dimensional stuff, and, densities and things like that. But I mean, I think I was just a little too young to appreciate what it all meant. Like, what I would do now is sit down with my grandfather and say, hey, talk to me about this, because I could grasp it on an entirely different level.
What's your opinion of the other side? Obviously, you've delved into it quite a bit. What is it on the other side? Is it dimensional? Is it strictly spiritual? What's your theory on that?
It's a hard question. I always sort of say I'll let you know when I get there, but I can judging by the types of the mediums I've worked with and the spirits that I have come into contact with. When my uncle passed away, and again, this guy was like super psychic, it's all on the same side of the family, and I cranked on a new piece of equipment, and he came through. Because I asked for him, and my grandfather would come through all the time. And I said, is it what you thought it would be? And he said, more. Right? And
Interesting.
I'm like, and I said, well, what do you see? And he goes, lights. He goes, everywhere. So many. Like, it's a ghost box, right? And he was just
okay. That's just going to ask you what it was.
Yeah. And I said, what is it? What are the lights? And he went, soul energy.
Interesting.
I thought so too. Yeah.
Well, we're getting ready to take our next break in just a couple of seconds. But when we get back, I'd like to hear more about your team, the types of investigations you do, and Canada's most haunted, if you can.
Sure.
And I do want to mention to everybody that your website, www.michelledesrochers, thank you, DESROCHERS.com, so that you can they can get on your website and learn a lot more about you and what you do. But when we get back, we're going to talk about your team, Canada's Most Haunted, as well as the stuff that you do. So folks, stay with us. We'll be back in just a few minutes after this short break. This is Larry Lawson, Paranormal Stakeout.
It's hard to listen to the news without realizing we're living in volatile, unprecedented times. Yet never has there been such an opportunity to transform the human condition. As old structures fail, where can we find the guidance to co-create a better way? Find Your Path Home is an ever-evolving, leading-edge information, education, and healing resource center designed to support and guide you on your path to unity and enlightenment. Based on sound principles employed by shaman worldwide, we provide techniques that can support you through the current transitions, offering online shamanic classes, international long-distance shamanic healing sessions, complimentary Mission Evolution radio episodes and Stairway to Heaven TV vignettes, seminars, retreats, and much more. All of this can be found on findyourpathhome.com.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me. simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
And we are back on Paranormal Stakeout with my guest tonight, Michelle Desrochers. I knew I would mess it up.
You're going to get it by the end of the show.
I'll work on it. Michelle runs a group called Canada's Most Haunted. She's a medium, a paranormal investigator, and I'd like to hear more about your group and what it is that you guys do and the types of investigations you work. Tell us a little bit about Canada's Most Haunted.
Canada's Most Haunted is actually a legal registered copyrighted company, and I run it as a company. So we do have insurance, things like that, when we do go in to do investigations. I don't investigate typically the same way as most people. Realistically, I can't go into somebody's house and start communicating with something that they don't want there. Now, bearing in mind, I only deal in malevolent or alleged demonic cases. So, I know what I'm looking for when I'm interviewing somebody. I have, an amazing medium on my team. I have access to a remote viewer as well. We have a priest. We're fully loaded. And after all these years, I know what I'm looking for. So we go in and we basically just get down to business. Not that we don't record while we're there. We absolutely do. But you won't see me doing typical EVPs. I can't go and make an invitation to communicate. I look at doing, whether it's a Ouija board or, voice recorder, ghost box, anything of that nature. If you are inviting communication, it's essentially a sort of invitation. And I can't in good faith just go and do that in somebody's home and then walk away and then leave them to pick up the pieces. I can't do it.
So if I get this right, what you're saying is you don't want to invite something in,
no,
and leave it there for them to deal with. But aren't you going in anyway because they've called you on a spirit?
No, absolutely. What I'm saying is, yes, I'm going in to communicate. To basically, when I go in, I'm not going to communicate with it. I don't really care what it has to say. I'm going in with the intention of clearing it. Gotcha. I have I'll have a remote viewer tap in and we'll figure out what's going on. And well proven, she's well proven. And basically, she's been tested scientifically and she comes in at a 92% accuracy rate. So if she says to me, this is going on, and she's right about 92 to 95% of what we always do, I'm going to take her word for it. So I don't go there saying, okay, well, now I need to communicate with this thing. The family doesn't want to communicate with it. The family doesn't want it there. My first shot in there, I will research it thoroughly first. I will try to get an idea of, the geographic, the areas, whether I'm dealing with ley lines, things like that, because I do deal with crazy locations. And then I will get a little bit of the history. I'll get the background on the people, everything. I already know pretty much what I'm up against when I go in there. Otherwise, I wouldn't be going in.
Okay, and I, being a cop myself, knowing your background, going in fully prepared is really important. So I appreciate that. So you don't get a call from somebody that says, I've got my cabinet doors flying open and the lights flashing on and off. Tell me what it is. You're getting the calls from folks that, hey, I need help. I've got something bad here. I've got
Oh,
correct?
yeah, oh yeah. And it may include, it may actually include doors flying open. And I
Well,
have to
yes.
determine, like, am I dealing with something supernatural, or am I dealing with self-projected energy, being like poltergeist? Am I dealing with mental health? I have to ask all the hard questions, but I'm fairly
Good.
seasoned in all this. I don't jump to conclusions. There's so many logical explanations for a lot of the stuff that goes on. I can't just go in there and start screaming the D word, or you just can't. You have to have a level head,
Good.
and I have to explore everything.
Well, it's also an issue of responsibility. Also, there's a lot of folks out there, and we've talked about it before on the show with other guests. Folks that they may even mean well, but they really don't know what they're doing, and they give a false impression or false hope to a client that they can do things that they can't. And that's a very very big ethical concern for me. I want to backtrack a little bit. You mentioned use of a remote viewer, and that's pretty unusual for most teams. And having a little bit of knowledge in that area, your remote viewer, you say that she's trained and tested. Where did she get trained and tested at?
Oh, well, I spoke to the doctor who definitely trained her, and he mapped her brain along with 800 other mediums. And that's her information to tell. And it is available out there. And I mean, and he even does interviews and so on. So it's definitely someplace I can hook you up with. But out of 800 mediums, she tested the highest.
Interesting.
And she finds missing children. She finds victims of human trafficking, solves murders, things like that. So
interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's good at what she does, for sure. And I always like to give her kudos and a mention.
Well, yeah, and there's been a lot of very positive information out on what remote viewers can do. Most of it is through the government, and that's what I was wondering was that where she got her initial training?
Nope.
No?
No. She's naturally gifted. She didn't train to do this. A lot of people do.
Right.
You can actually take courses on it for sure, but no, she's a natural.
Okay, but she's tested by an individual. Now,
a doctor.
I would really like to talk to this doctor. Is there a way for me to,
Absolutely.
Is it on the website?
I can send, no, it won't be on my website, but I can send you the information, and you could probably even look at a future prospect for a show. He's wonderful.
Oh, I would really, really enjoy that.
Happy to.
So you use a remote viewer, you use a member of the clergy?
Yes, we do for the real hardcore, cases. A lot of times, believe it or not, when you remote view, there's a lot of stuff you can clear remotely.
Interesting. I've not heard that one yet. Okay.
I've been witness to it, and it's fascinating, when you have somebody who really knows what they're doing, because I know viewers who have struggled with it, and they end up having things follow them. Like, there is a process to it, the right way and the wrong way, and the no way, don't do it. And
sure.
Then they end up in trouble, so, and then I'll get a call. So it's just, we're happy to, help out colleagues and so on. It's an art form for sure,
How often does it get bad enough where you have to call in a member of the clergy on the cases that you work?
We have an independent bishop on staff, so he does his pre-the Vatican rites of exorcism. Sometimes it's just a good old-fashioned blessing, and it's a good old-fashioned clearing. And the only cases that I do, realistically, are cases that require at least a blessing. Sometimes if you work with the mindset. I've spent years working with just the mindset of the individuals, and educating them and changing how they think, and a lot of times it's changing their mindset from victim to warrior, giving them back control, educating them on things like that. Most of the people that I've helped that way have never needed me a second time, very seldomly, because they've got it. I'll hear from them and say, something spiked, but we just want you to know we're okay. We got it taken care of. And they go on to either start their own groups or help people independently. It's really awesome to see how people like to pay it forward when they're educated.
Have you ever had a case that just frankly went south? You thought you had it taken care of, and you get a call back a few weeks later. Hell, it's back, and it's even worse now. Have you ever had anything like that happen?
Often. There's never a guarantee when you're doing cleansings. We've gone back to places sometimes 3-4 times, but we find in those cases, a lot of times it's because the people are so conditioned to living in fear this is where mindset really does come in, working with people and being the counselor. Like I took a little bit of counseling just so I knew how to properly communicate with people, read body language, that kind of thing. Nothing heavy duty by any means. But when you are living in fear and you're paranoid all the time, thinking you're being watched, you can clear a place. But if you can't change that mindset and they keep thinking that they're being watched and they're nervous and they're upset, you're running into the fact that it's going to come right back in, or it could potentially attract something else. Or sometimes then you start dealing with the mental aspect of it. There's really a lot more involved than just going in and starting to do clearings, etc.
Oh, that's for darn sure. I mean, understanding your client's background's got to be a vital part of this whole thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Can you share the most complicated case that you've had, the most difficult one? Are you able to share something like that with us?
I've had some very difficult cases. I've got one that's ongoing that I can't really share in its entirety right now because I'm very, I respect confidentiality. When I speak of cases, it's because I have permission to do so. I don't name names. That's why sometimes people want to do the shows that I film, because it's their way of telling their story so people can maybe learn and not be victimized the way that they were. But I have had cases where the land is just bad. And you can't change it. I've gone into locations where people have lived under oppression for, my longest one was like 50 something odd years. And I did one, it took me over a year to do, and I bet you it was 22 years. And finally, we were able to clear the house, and we can never get the land 100% clear. It just won't clear. It's just, you have elementals, which are
nature,
earth spirits. Yeah. And you might be able to relocate them for a little bit, but you can't move them. They come back. We've had situations where there's been the cult and black masses, sacrificial stuff done on the land. The land has just been sort of damaged. I've had some situations where there have been extraterrestrial activity on the land, and you just can't. How do you clear that? You really can't.
Extraterrestrial. That's something that when we get back after our next segment, I'd like to talk to you about. Is there a connection there, as well as a few other things? So, folks, we're getting ready to take our next break. I want you to stick around with more from Michelle and Canada's Most Haunted. So stay with us, and we'll be back right after these messages.
They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Ellie Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net. Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
And we are back on Paranormal Stakeout with my guest tonight, Michelle Desrochers from Canada's Most Haunted. And Michelle, great conversation we're having, getting a lot of interesting information. You were talking about the land a few moments ago, and I think that's a hugely interesting subject, because a lot of folks just don't understand sometimes it's the land. Do you find that when you bring in your paranormal clergy, I want to ask you a quick question about that also. Do they help? Are they helpful with land type of events also? That's not building related, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sometimes they can be. You have to understand we need to try to work with the religious backgrounds of the clients as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I find sometimes with the land, we end up having to bring in shaman. Especially if we're very close to some of the native community. And up here we have a lot of indigenous, like the Six Nations and so on. And some of the properties that I've done are butting right up against reservation land. So, they're very spiritual people. And sometimes they're the only ones that can calm down, the land and the elemental entities that are there. So sometimes it's a little bit of both. I may have to deal with the clergy to come in and deal with the family, but I might have to deal with a shaman to deal with the land.
Well, one of the questions I've gotten several times, and this has to do with the clergy, the bishop that you're working with, he's you say independent, but
yes.
What does that mean? What does that mean exactly?
Well, he's married, so he couldn't go all the way up the ranks of the Catholic Church, but he's an independent, so he's an independent bishop and archbishop of the Canadian branch of the Church of Poland and the Church of Mexico. And he is certified as an independent exorcist with the Order of Exorcists. But it's all pre-Vatican. It does not require to have any sort of why am I having a brain toot right now? He doesn't need permission from the Vatican to do it.
Sure.
So I don't know.
When you say the Church of Poland and the Church of Mexico, the question I get asked often, Baptist, Episcopalian, Catholic priests, which are better? But I'm not quite sure when you say the Church of Poland.
Well, they're Catholic.
So is he Catholic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but again, a lot of, like, he'd probably be the one more versed to discuss that. We've brought him on in the last probably 3 months, so it's very new for me to reach out that way. I'm usually very hands-on myself. I can tell you that it's been very successful in everything that we've done. We've had to go back to a location, maybe 2 different locations, more than once, and again, the one location. Really, we were dealing with mindset. I brought him in on a case, and I had a woman who was basically under oppression. I mean, she was used as a sacrifice from the time she was a baby. Everything went wrong in this woman's life. I mean, literally, in all of her, 35 plus years, it's been nothing but like horrible things happening to this woman through her life. And in one shot, came in, bam, never had another problem.
Really?
Did you not?
Okay. It's interesting. Well, and probably the biggest reason I'm bringing that up is some interesting things I have found about the Catholic Church,
Mm-hmm.
and its openness to some paranormal work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was wondering if the Archbishop was part of the Catholic Church, but he's not part of the Roman Catholic Church.
No, he's not part of the Roman Catholic Church. Exactly. So, he could have been, but it's like he said, he goes, I can't get married. I'm already married. So you can only go so far up the line, right? But he's very effective in what he does. And I think it's important, that when people see a religious person come in, they automatically feel a sense of peace when you've been through hell and back, so to speak. And he's really awesome. Like, I'm really fortunate that I have a great team of people. People see me do all these television shows and such, and I have been filming for years, but they don't realize that I have an amazing group of people behind me. And that I don't just go in waving magic wands, that it really is a team effort. It really is.
It always is a team effort. Yes. There's no question about that. And with me, it's just an important aspect that, and this is why I was asking these questions. The folks that are doing this thing, they're dealing with people's lives and emotions, and I want to make sure that when our team goes in, for an example, we're going to do everything we can to keep everything above board and people know as much about us as possible. And it's a question of not only ethics but comfort. But you mentioned television. Yeah, you've done quite a bit of TV, haven't you?
Oh, God, I've been filming for 15 years. I've got 4 or 5 pages of media credits to my name. But people, of course, just know the more recent ones, but I film quite a bit. And it's I do it because, it's how people find me. Okay. They see me and they get the story. They Google me and they're like, okay, this is somebody that can help. I'm backed up 1.5 years in cases. I have cases that drop on my lap every single day without exaggerations. I get over 50 private messages a day, 700-800 notifications a day just on Facebook, not counting, let's say, the website and all the other social media that I have out there. So people are finding me, and it's really important. I try to answer all of my own stuff. It takes me a while, but yeah, it's an avenue of for people to find you.
Sure.
Yeah, reaching
and folk. And that's helpful. But if you're getting that many folks getting a hold of you, how many of them are saying, "I need help now. I'm Michelle. I'm in trouble now."
Yeah.
How often do you get that?
Lots. Lots. And I'm only one person. I get messages from around the world. I do work worldwide. And like I said, sometimes you can go in and remotely clear things, and that usually takes a few goes. It's not like being on site. But I also don't have problems reaching out to colleagues. I mean, not a lot of people do this sort of thing. So, I'm a little bit more limited than if I had somebody who just messaged me and said, hey, we have a ghost walking around. We just want to know who he is and pop him out or get to know him or,
Yeah, so, I don't know how you'd have time for that.
I know. I don't. No.
But if you get like 3 or 4 folks calling you or messaging you in one day, they're desperate for help. You will oftentimes, for lack of a better term, farm that out to somebody that could also help.
Yeah, I always look for people. I try to figure out where they're from. And I have a really good network of people that, send people to me. And I send people, around to them as well. Because, unfortunately, it's trying to find reputable people. I clean up a lot of messes from other groups. And I'm not just trying to be facetious or anything like that. Some people, there are a lot of good teams out there, and there are a lot of teams who don't really know what they're doing. And I call them weekend warriors. They like going to like big places that they can investigate. And I get it. But unfortunately, some of these people are going into private homes. They're abandoning them. They're not giving them the proper information. They think it's about just going in there and getting a few recordings and pictures. And then the people get left behind. I don't know when did it stop becoming about people? I always make it about people. It makes me crazy that people don't make it about that.
And that's exactly where I'm coming from, Michelle. I call them weekend warriors, as you do, and most of them are They're well intentioned. They're not out there to hurt anybody, but they're out there for the thrill of the EVP or the thrill of the bump in the night. And they come in, they take some pictures. Look what I got. They disappear, and they go back to their regular lives on Monday and don't do anything else with it, and leave the person that needed them there hanging. And sometimes, even worse, they make promises they can't keep, and they cause even more harm. And sometimes these are folks that they don't mean any harm. They just don't know what they're doing. And sometimes if they're flat out charlatans looking to make a name for themselves and harm themselves, and in the process harming others. And that's a very big, important issue for me.
Oh, that, and make things worse by, challenging what's there and demanding, that they communicate. And honestly, I've just heard so many horror stories, and it's really hard because it makes us all look bad. And I am so, like I said, I'm so grateful and always humbled by the messages I get and the people who reach out to me, the people who entrust themselves and their families to me. I take that really seriously because I really do care about people, and which is why I don't go in with, I own all the gadgets. I keep up on all of it because I do television. And I have to have some of this stuff because it's, I do go to some of the public places and such when I film some of these shows. They don't come in to private residences because that's not what it's about for me. Period.
And I totally agree. And as I said, that's a huge worry of mine, that the ethics gets lost because sometimes people are either trying to make a name for themselves or they just don't know what they're doing. So I completely agree with you on that. But the television, do you think that's helped or harmed the entire field?
That's a kind of a double-edged sword because I think that a lot of it has helped in a way because it's opened people's eyes to what is out there, or it helps them to be a little bit more open-minded or talk about situations they may be going through. I've had people I've helped say, to me that, what, I really like doing the type of shows that you do because it's a way of paying it forward, that if even one person can learn from our experience, if we could help one person, then we feel like we've given back because they don't really know how else to give back, But then I've seen that there's other shows out there, and again, they're just really aggressive researchers or might be a little confrontational. And what happens at that point is it sets precedence for how some teams do things. And when you're in the media and in the public eye, I'm sorry, you have to govern yourselves accordingly. Due diligence.
Ethics, and your due diligence and ethics. There's absolutely no question about that. Well, we're about ready to go to our last break, Michelle, and everybody else stay with us. We've got a lot more to talk about in this last section, so we'll be right back after these messages on Paranormal Stakeout.
They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Ellie Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
And welcome back to our final segment tonight on Paranormal Stakeout with my guest, Michelle Desrochers. With,
You're getting closer.
I'm getting closer with Haunted Canada. You can visit Michelle at her website, www.michelleDesrochers.com. And that'll give you
Haunted.com if it's easier.
Or Canada'sMostHaunted.com. I'll get this right. So go ahead, please visit one of those two websites to learn more about what Michelle and what she does. I also want to invite you to tune into some of the great programming on the X-Zone Radio and Television Broadcast Network. Go to www.xzbn.net and take a look at all the terrific other shows on the network that you can entertain yourself with, as well as learn many aspects of the other side. Also, take a look at some of my shows at www.paranormalstakeout.com. You can also visit me at my own team's website at www.paranormalfbi.com down here in Florida. Well, this hour's been going kind of fast, Michelle, but there's some other things I'd like to chat with you about and get your take on. In particular, children, teens, and the paranormal. What's their connection? How do kids get connected to the paranormal?
Too much television.
Okay.
You know what? I get a lot of cases where children are involved, and young children I understand because they're easy targeted by things. I mean, they're so open. They see everything. They hear everything, and it's not hard for things to be attracted to their light and their innocence. You know, I've been dealing with teenagers, and they're a little bit of a different situation because, again, you know, you're going through puberty, you do tend to attract these things, and you do tend to be drawn, you know, to dark things. And sometimes they get into situations that they can't get themselves out of. You know, and again, now with a phone, everything is in a phone app. You don't even need a Ouija board. I mean, you know, some of these things get bad raps because, in all honesty, if you're a good medium, you know, you can, not that you would need a Ouija board, but you can use one quite successfully. You would know what's coming in, and it's just another tool to play with. Another, you know, it's like, not, I won't, let me take that back, not play with, but a medium use different avenues quite successfully without any mega consequences. Children have access to these boards through, you know, all these big box stores, and, you know, they have these phone apps now that they can communicate with just about anything. And they're making invitations, and they're not realizing that they really are bringing something in. And, you know, they get together with friends, and they'll have seances, and oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many I've cleaned up over the years.
Oh, heck, I can remember when I was a kid, before I knew any better, we'd go to a party and pull out the Ouija board. But that's one area that I'm very, very concerned about, and that's opening those doors with a Ouija board. So I agree. That's something that we need to educate our children, that this is not a toy to play with.
No, and the phone apps. It's just a little bit of everything, you know, pendulums, you know, tarot cards. I mean, I've had situations where I've had teens go, oh, well, can I use my tarot cards? I'm like, well, I don't know. Do you know how? And who taught you? You know, like, you can learn everything online now, but unfortunately, I don't know that they're being taught the consequences of some of these actions. And then when you come in, you get the place clear, and you can end up falling back into the same situation or peer pressure, things like that, you know? So it's, I always like to, I've worked with a lot of kids, and I've done talks, you know, on trying to educate them and unfortunately, kids are fearless nowadays. You can't even
That they are.
instill that fear into them.
Well,
you know?
you said something earlier that kind of troubled me a little bit about parents wanting you to teach their children about
Mm,
the occult, and I find that a particularly
mm.
dangerous area. How often do you actually get parents asking you to teach their kids about the occult? That's
Honestly, through all of my years, it's pretty low. But there's
good.
still been about like a half dozen to a dozen times throughout my 15 years, which to me is half a dozen to a dozen too many.
I agree. Well, I mean, wouldn't the thing be tell the parents just tell them no, they can't?
Yeah, I guess the fear is, I had one mother email me and like years and years ago, and she basically said, no matter what I do, I've tried to ground her. I have tried to, I've taken everything away.
Hmm.
And it's not like they even really had a lot of cell phones, back. Well, I guess they did 15 years ago, but nothing like we see today with mini
Hmm.
computers and phone apps. And she said, I just don't know how to get her to lose the interest. I would rather her learn basics from somebody who knows what they're doing and can maybe deter her from the
Okay.
path. And I'm like, that's just not, I can't, and I can't just, I mean, when I do talks, yeah, I will touch on it a little bit, but
Hmm.
it's really a difficult thing to ask someone to. I don't want to educate necessarily anybody on the occult, the perils of it.
Good.
Absolutely.
Good.
But
Yeah. Back in the early 90s, late 80s, I did a lot of work in law enforcement with people that were getting mixed up into it. And most of them, fortunately, just flat grew out of it. But there were some individuals that, just got them, and teenagers got themselves in so deep, they never, ever really got out of it. So that's a kind of a touchy subject with me because
mhm.
I've seen kids hurt very, very badly about that. But let's talk about younger kids now. There's always been the talk in our field about how younger children are more open to communication with the other side, have the imaginary friend maybe not so imaginary, and how about also the young kids talking about past lives? Talk to me your experience with younger children and all of this.
Yeah, younger children, I've worked cases that have started out because the child was tricked into believing that he was speaking with another child. And, it's always pretty much the same old, same old. I want to come over and play. And of course, the child says yes, or they get bullied into saying yes. They
Mm-hmm.
become fearful.
Mm-hmm.
And then all hell breaks loose after that. Next thing you know, that's when you're getting the whole infestation period, banging on the walls, scratching, doors opening and closing. I mean, just chaos. But sometimes what I find, I like to try to work with parents because I can't tell you how many times I've heard parents say, well, we didn't believe him. We thought he had an imaginary friend. We tried to discourage him. And I'm like, if you belittle a child
Mm-hmm.
into thinking that they're being stupid or silly by sharing that experience with you. I'm not saying lead the child, I'm just
Mm-hmm.
saying listen to the
Mm-hmm.
child, maybe read between the lines. Because if the child is afraid to come to the parent who they look to you for protection because they're afraid, if they're telling you, they might be potentially afraid. Maybe they are being bullied, or maybe they're just not sure. If they would ask their parent, can this child come over to play the same way they would any other child?
Mm-hmm.
Because they really see them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Why are younger children affected so often? What's your opinion on that?
I believe it's their light, their innocence, you
Mm-hmm.
know. I mean, like anyone else, if they're if they're in a maybe not so good environment, or if they're being bullied at school, for instance, they're anxious, and I mean, there could be many reasons that would attract. State of mind on average can attract different things to come in, but children, they see things. I always say that we're born with at least 6 senses, and we live in a physical world, so we rely on our physical senses. But children, they still have that ability to see beyond the physical. And some people retain it all the way, obviously, into adulthood. Children seem to have it a lot. So they're going to see things, and the other things that are out there know that they can be seen. They know they're going to be acknowledged.
Yeah, and children are an open vessel. They're just not clogged up with all the things we adults are.
Agreed.
We've got just a couple of minutes before our time is done, Michelle. I'd like to ask your opinion on the state of the paranormal union, so to speak. What is the state of the field of paranormal research and investigation, and where do you think we're going?
Again, double-edged sword. Some of us are very cordial and open to working with other teams. I love my colleagues. I have people reach out, and I'm always thrilled to be able to give back or to assist in any way that I can. And like I said, I have a great network of people. But what saddens me is when I see so many of these Facebook pages, because everybody adds me, and I'm always cordial enough to say, oh yeah, happy to do it, but I see so much bashing or self-proclaimed experts. People, there are no experts in the field. And, even being portrayed as one, I'm like, oh, okay, but I also
that's a whole nother subject of how do people get tagged as experts? What are their credentials? Who has credentialed them?
Exactly.
That's another big issue of mine.
Exactly. There are no experts. We're all students. And I, for one, try to learn something new every single day. I do a lot of reading, a lot of researching, and I never want to stop learning because there's nothing definitive about the paranormal. For anybody to come out and say, well, I'm an expert in this. I've had people say to me, oh, you're a demonologist. I said, no, I'm a student of demonology.
Yeah. Well, and that is certainly where we need to go. I'm a big believer in training, structure, and standardization. It's going to be a big help in our field. But Michelle, our time is done tonight. I want to thank you for being on the show. Thanks to everybody that was listening tonight. And we'll hope to talk to you soon. And thank everybody, all of you out there, for listening tonight. We'll see you next time on the other side.
Thank you.
If you are looking for a safe, zero-calorie natural option to the harmful artificial sweeteners on the market today, Just Like Sugar is what you're looking for. Just Like Sugar is a wonderful natural alternative for those health-conscious people who choose a calorie-restricted diet with a great, pure, sweet flavor that tastes just like sugar. Just Like Sugar is a great natural option for people suffering from diabetes and may be useful in restricted diet programs where standard sugars are not allowed and does not cause a laxative effect of some other sweeteners. Just Like Sugar comprises a perfect blend of chicory root fiber, natural calcium, natural vitamin C, and Just Like Sugar's sweetness comes from the natural flavors from the peel of the orange. Just Like Sugar is a natural alternative to harmful artificial sweeteners and will change the way that you believe all natural sweetener products taste. Just Like Sugar is available at your local Whole Foods markets, Wild Oats markets, Henry's, Sun Harvest, and many other fine natural food stores in the U.S., Canada, and worldwide. They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Ellie Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.